Alright everybody, this is a Philco that I bought back during the Shelby Ham Fest, which was in the latter part of the summer. It's been a few months, and it was in the Labor Day weekends when they normally have that Ham Fest. It's up in North Carolina. It's a couple hours away from me. So anyway, I got this from a guy who was selling it up there, and I told him about my YouTube channel. So hello if you're watching. Thank you for watching. This is a Philco model 38-9, probably made in 37 for the 38 model year, I should say rather. It is a 6-tube chassis radio. The 38 model 8 or 38-8 and 38-9 shared the same chassis. It's right here. I guess a 38-8 was a console, or had a console version. It covers a regular AM broadcast band from 530 to 1720, and then band 2 is it says 5.7 to 18, but the dial says it goes down to 5.5, so I would say 5.5 to 18, 5.5 megahertz. It is a regular AC set, 60 cycle, 50-60 cycles, 6 tubes, as I said. It's got a tone, volume, and a band switch. Kind of basic radio, probably pretty common radio for the back from the day, but it's in pretty good shape. Grill cloth's got a little tear in it, but you could probably get a new one of those. Not a big deal. The wood is really nice on it. And the guy that I bought it from said that he got it for display, and I think he said he wasn't sure if it worked or not. So he had a certain price on it, and I offered him a certain price, and he accepted, and here it is. So anyway, here is what the radio looks like in the book. This is the Philco book by Ron Ramirez. Very good book, by the way. If you collect Philcos, this is a great book to have. So anyway, not sure how many of these were made. I'm sure I could probably find out, but like I said, it's probably a pretty common set. Anyway, it's pretty nice. It needs a little cleaning around the knobs. It's got some, looks like, I don't know, grease marks or something right around the knobs, probably from finger oils from people using it over the years. I did plug this in, and it does work. The AM band works, but the shortwave band is pretty much no bueno. I can't get anything out of it. The dial light's out, and the volume knob is really scratchy. It's it's kind of in and out more than scratchy. It's like it drops out, so it's probably got bad traces or something in it. So anyway, if I can get it turned around here, this is the back of the set. Pretty well complete. Really dusty inside. The I don't know if you can see that down in there, but that the tuning capacitor is pretty filled with dust and stuff like that, so we'll need to clean all that up. But anyway, I'll demonstrate what it does. Okay, so we're on 970. I can't leave it on here because of copyright, but as you see, it's playing, so it does work. This seems like it needs washers, which I had already gotten washers a while back, so we're going to need to replace those. It doesn't really get very loud, and I think it could be because of some of this thing is like in and out. I noticed the noise goes up a little higher on the lower end of the dial. It's just kind of opposite of a lot of sets that I've run into over the years. It seemed to be higher on the, the noise level gets higher on the higher end of the dial. So this one probably needs an alignment.
Let the community know they're free to come by 1 o'clock to 3 on today.
kind of story, and it isn't now, to be clear. But if the media
And that station is about a mile away from me.
let me repeat, they're not saying that at all.
Studios and the transmitter are literally right at the end of the street, about a mile away. So anyway, it's only 1,000 watts, but it blares in over here because I'm so close to it. Anyway, so you know, I mean, it does work. I haven't been able to get anything out of the shortwave band. It's just pretty much dead. Well, nope, there's something there. No, never mind, that's the AM band, I believe. Had it flipped the wrong way. So yeah, it's not doing much. So, or I haven't been able to get anything off of it on the shortwave. So anyway, I was only running at about 110 volts, so we had kind of like a voltage dial back on the variac there. So anyway, let's dig into this thing and see what we're working on here. Yeah, I kind of hate this whenever you go to take a chassis out and it's missing half of the mounting screws in it, but that's what it's got. So I have to dig around in my junk and see if I got anything to replace that with. Alright, yep, so it looks like it's been quite a while since this thing's been taken out. The radio's pretty dusty. Missing a tube shield here, one of those square tube shields. Let's see what it looks like up under here. Yeah, bunch of old stuff up under here. This hadn't been touched in years. These old replacement caps look like they're probably from the 50s or something like that. Maybe the early 60s. LE high cap. I don't think I've ever heard of that brand. Well, they're still working because it ain't humming. It's one of those dry electrolytic. That's a solar there. Yep. Sprague. That's a Sprague there. So that's a replacement. Philco usually had all their own brand caps. Yep. Got one bakelite block, if I can keep it from falling over. And that's probably for the across the line. That's what they usually use those for. Usually like a 0.015, something like that. These big dog bones right here are a dropping resistor, and they usually are out of whack. You know, this one looks like it's got a hole burned in it. Something going on there, so I need to check that and probably replace it. But anyway, yeah, it's this one probably needs a full restoration. Need to go through and check everything, see how out of spec everything is, these resistors, and replace all these old paper caps. And these can-ohm resistors right here are prone to going out. So check those and see if anything's wrong there. But yeah, it just needs a going through, that's all. But I'd rather see them like this than have new components in them and get something that somebody screwed up and whatever. I've seen that before. Alright, so to start out with, I think I'm going to check this big power resistor. Let's see, what do we got here? Body in dot, so 1, 0, and by 10 or 1000, which is the orange would indicate by 1,000, so that's 10,000 ohms. So we got a 10K. I don't know if I can do this with one hand or not. Somebody's got some friction tape on here. Some old friction tape. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to do this with one hand. Alright, so I managed to shove that probe in there. I pulled that friction tape off and got about 14K. That ain't terrible. Not for a tube set. But it probably should be replaced. But, you know, we're going to have to replace this old cap in here anyway, because I want to get all those old power caps out of there. Because if something shorts out in these old caps, it'll take out your transformer, and the last thing you want is the power transformer to go out in these things. You could have pretty much anything else burn up in these sets and probably get by with it in some sort of fashion, but if that power transformer goes out, you're SOL'd. So we'll probably get rid of a lot of these old, you know, all these caps in the power section first. And even though it's not humming, and start replacing. That's why I usually start with the power supply first. When you're working on a radio, the way I like to do it, I like to rebuild the power supply first. Because even if the radio ain't performing correctly, a lot of times it can be stuff in the power supply not powering the rest of it correctly, and the power supply is the most critical part of the radio anyway. So that's my opinion of it, because if something goes wrong in the power supply, the radio ain't going, you can pretty much hang the radio up. Now the next thing I need to do is get a schematic for this thing, so I'm not guessing on what they put in here, because I've seen this a bunch of times where people, you know, there'll be a 4 microfarad cap here in the original slot, and somebody will put an 8 in there, and then you think, well, that's an 8, so maybe I can put a 12 or a 16 in there, and the next thing you know, you're getting really far off from the original values, and I don't like doing that. So I need to get a schematic for this thing. Sometimes they're marked on the part, but Philco a lot of times use numbers, part numbers, to you know, instead of values, they just put a part number on there, and you had to know that part number to know what the value was. So I'm gonna go in there and print a schematic out for this thing before I get too deep into it, so I know what we're doing. Alright, so something I don't understand they've got going on here is this. They've got this in place of that, which is the original. They've got this tack soldered in here, which is, you know, I guess alright, but they're using an 8, but the schematic, let's see if I can find out where it's at again. Look away from something, and the next thing you know, okay, this is supposed to be number 45 right here, which is a 25 microfarad, and they're running an 8. I don't really get that, but, and to be honest with you, I'm surprised it's a 25, because they usually, in these sets, it's usually 15 or less. Usually a 15 microfarad or less for that, but they've got a 25 in here, and you know, I don't know, I double checked the part number on that, and it is correct. It's a 25, so you know, I don't have a 25 microfarad cap. I've got a 22 and I've got a 33. So, but I've got a 10 and I've got a 15, so I could probably use that. And just make a 25 that way. That's probably what I'm going to end up doing. Just to get it, you know, close. I mean, they're running an 8. I could probably use the 22 and it probably wouldn't be a problem. But anyway, up here on this one here, they've got an 8 tacked in on one. This is a dual section here, which is a little unusual too for these 30s Philcos, but they've got it's a dual section. It's got a ground and two 2 wires for each section. One's a 4 and one's an 8. They've still got the 4 hooked up right here, which is that green wire right there. And then this one here, they've cut the wire here that goes from it and tacked in this 8, which is fine, but this is at least 50 years old and needs to be replaced again. So and I don't have any 8s either, which I'm surprised I don't. I've got some 10s, so I'm probably just going to use those. The sake of ordering parts, it's around Christmas time. It's basically the week of Christmas. It's Monday and Christmas is Saturday. I don't really want to order anything right now because I'm probably not going to get it in time to finish this video. I'd really like to put this video up before Christmas. So if you're watching and I get it up before Christmas, Merry Christmas, everybody. Yeah, I think we're gonna do that at least for these caps. I probably got most of the other little small paper caps. I probably got those in stock, so we're gonna go that route with it and see where we end up. Okay, so on this dial light, the deal is with these things is there's a little insulator in here that gets basically like mush and it gets pushed through, and this little contact here for the positive gets recessed back in it, and the tip of the bulb can't make contact. And I've seen this as a pretty common problem on these radios. So what I use, or what I do, is I use these little, they're called vinyl grommets, and they have various different sizes, and the smallest size in here is that, and it seems to fit in there, and the spring locks into it, and it seems to work. So I squeeze one of these on the head of that contact, and make sure your spring's behind it and your little diffuser shade or whatever you want to call it, and then it goes down in there and you put your bulb in there and it works. And there it is put together. And I always make sure that this wire is trimmed up enough so you have, you know, that insulating where it goes in the back of it. A lot of times that wire, the insulation likes to fall apart, and there we go, it's back working again. Alright, so I'm kind of skipping around here, but you know, we got our light fixed. So now I'm going to work on this cap, and on this multi-section here, this black, if you can see that right at the tip of my finger, is grounded to that lug, which is actually grounded to the chassis. It's grounded here. I don't know if you can see that, but that is riveted to the chassis there. So that means this chassis grounded. So what we need to do, this is chassis grounded, and this is our positive here, but this right here is chassis grounded right next to it. So that makes it super easy to replace that section of the cap. So we just need to desolder this here, and I'll get rid of this, and we'll just tack a cap, a radial leaded cap here and here, and you know, we'll be done. 8 microfarad. Alright, so I got a lot of these caps in the audio section replaced here. Yeah, I had to replace this one, then I had to replace this one, so I had to undo this joint, so I replaced this one, and then I had to undo that joint, so I replaced that one. So I'm just kind of replacing them as I go through the circuit, but sounds a lot better.
Sean, for giving us this opportunity.
What a momentous occasion in American broadcast history. Best-selling author Peter Schweizer.
Volume is still scratchy, needs to be cleaned, but
Actually, guest hosting a radio show. Some
volume goes up and down, and it's pretty clear.
Basketball went to become in baseball.
That's my first thought.
But I think it's more when Ronald Reagan left.
So, yeah, we're definitely making progress on this. Alright, so I think I got you set up where you can see the meter. You got a 1 meg resistor. It's a dog bone. Looks like a 1/2 watt variety. Reading about 2.2 meg, so that's about time for that one to go too.
4.0, I'm not sure what version of it.
Alright, so it's got a little whine in the background, picking up some kind of interference. I just put this thing back in there in the cabinet and took it down there and blew it out with the air compressor to get rid of all that dust, and brought it back in and plugged it up, and we're picking up, it's during the daytime, it's kind of early in the morning now, it's the next day, and we're picking up WBT in Charlotte, which is a little over 100 miles away from me, so doing pretty good. Okay, I'm gonna rebuild this Bakelite block capacitor. I'm not really going to cover that in this video. I've got a specific video on that, and I've done it numerous times in other videos, but I'll just show you the end result. Alright, we got that all mounted up, and that's back in there with both of our little bite star washers back in place. I decided to go ahead and do that since I have interference coming in through the line. Now, I'm not sure if that's gonna solve it or not. It could be coming through the antenna, but yeah, we'll go ahead and get this across the line cap replaced. So also you don't want to leave those things in there. If they short out, they could take out the transformer. Okay, so replace this capacitor and those two resistors. That mica cap checked fine. There's the old parts. This radio has a lot of 1 meg resistors in them, and they're just slightly out, so I just changed them while I was in there. I had to change the cap, and somebody put this cap in there as a 0.05, and the schematic says it's supposed to have a 0.1, so we replaced it with a 0.1. Alright, I had to pull this volume pot out. I'm going to replace all this mess. That resistor is up quite a ways, like 51K, and it's reading 65, so I'm going to get rid of this and replace these caps. Okay, so I'm getting about ready to wrap it up with this thing. I've pretty much replaced everything that is out of tolerance. I've checked almost everything on this thing, and everything looks good. There's still some old resistors left in here that checked okay, but for the most part it's pretty much done. I may go back in later and replace this 3 watt 10K resistor here. I just don't have one in stock. This one doesn't really check that far out of spec, so it's okay, but for the longevity of this set, I think I really would like to replace this eventually. But yeah, all the old paper caps are gone, and yeah, these caps here should make this radio last for a long time. So, and we rebuilt that Bakelite, and so we're good to go here. It picks up really good. It performs really well. I'm really happy with the way this thing turned out. I tell you, when these old Philco sets are working right, they are really good performers. These old super hets from the 30s they made. They're really great radios. Alright, so now that the circuitry and all that stuff is done, I'd like to check the tubes, and so I broke out the military tube tester, the old TV7, and I've got this 6A8 oscillator, I believe it is, in there, detector and oscillator tube connected, and this is one that I'm going to put in the set. It providing it checks good. This is the one that was in the set. really would like to stick to the full-size glass tubes if I can. And see, the minimum value is 29, so we're looking at 40, so we're plenty good here. So we're going to use this tube. Alright, so here is the metal 6A8 tube, and it's coming in at about 30. It's right at the minimum, so yeah, we'll stick this one in the box and, you know, use it for, you know, backup tube or something. If I'm working on something and it's just got a dead tube in it, you know. But other than that, I'm not going to run this in a set. I don't really like these metal tubes anyway. Most people don't, but you know, they work okay if it's all you have, but you know, preferably I'd rather go with the original glass tube. Alright, so this is a 6F5, or excuse me, 6K5. And it is the first audio tube. And it checks pretty weak. It's not even at 20. And it's supposed to be around 25. That's the minimum on that. So this one is going to need to be replaced. But I don't have one, so I'm going to have to get one. But the radio plays pretty decent, so I'm just going to leave it in there until I can get another one in. Alright, so this is a 6F6. That's the audio output tube. I'll check it for shorts. Doesn't look like it. Let's see, got to be on B. Line adjust is good. Man, this thing is dead. What is that like? It's not even 10. That's weird. The radio seemed to play fine, but boy, this tube is dead. Yeah, this thing's dead. Alright, so the strongest thing I could find was this one here. It's a 6F6 short glass, and let's see. Line adjust is, switch is a little flaky. Check for shorts. Looks fine. And that's a lot stronger. It's like 55, minimum is 50. So yeah, we'll go with this one for now. I guess I'll just get a new old stock one or something online. Alright, so this is a 6K7. It's an IF tube. And that's fine. It's supposed to be like 30, and it's about there on the minimum scale. Line adjust is fine. Shorts are fine. Yeah, it's a little on the weak side. There it goes. A little bit higher that time. I think a switch is flaky on this thing, but anyway, it's good enough. The radio has got a really hot receive, so I don't think these things are too bad off. Except for that audio output tube. That thing was dead. Alright, so this is a 6J7. Or excuse me, 6J5. 6J5 is the detector and ABC tube. Or the second detector. It's coming in at the minimum. It's, I think what it says, 26. 6J5 is, no, minimum is 23. So I'd say, yeah, right at the minimum. Looks good for shorts. Line adjust is fine. Yeah, it's about 25, so it's still fine. It's an original Philco tube. Alright, so this is the 5Y4 rectifier, and it's reading a little lower than the minimum. To be honest with you, I've checked 5Y4s in this tester before, and they've got the minimum at 40 on this, and I don't know. I think they have the minimum a little high on that because most of the tubes at 5Y4s that I've checked in this thing always fail. They're always like just a little bit below the minimum, so, but they seem to work fine. I don't think there's anything wrong with that tube, so we're gonna go with it. And putting the chassis together, I found 4 screws that match. Well, the 2 that were in there, and I found 2 that matched. Alright, so we got it back in the cabinet, and I tried to clean this up, but I think a lot of it is stained into the wood, because I took some wood cleaner and cleaned it, and it got some of it off, but there's a lot of it that's still there. Okay, so I've got it down short wave. I'm going to start on the lower and go to the upper end of the band on this band scan here. Now this thing needs, it's got some rubber grommets on the tuner. These are different from the, like the 2-piece chassis, the sub chassis that they have on a lot of these. These are different. They're like just, you know, grommets that slide over something instead of the ones that have the pins that go through them. But as far as I know, they're not obtainium. You can't obtain them. I believe the Radio Days guy quit making them, so I don't know any place to get them. So if you know, leave a comment. So you may see it flopping back and forth, but it's just that grommet that needs replacing. Morse code on 40 meters. Alright, so back over to AM.
Exposure notification, the DC help.
Four members of the U.S. government.
1340. It'll blast your
That would be
ears.
verses 3 and 4 of chapter 1.
Activating the National Guard to help at the hospital.
Keeping kids out of school, keeping them away from one another.
Give me you. Lord, give me you.
Fiscal year 838. The year before that, just 47.
1,000. Pursued and paramedics to U.S. hospitals. Doctors within the Cleveland Clinic say the vast
Washington, the Telford exit, that is all because of a crash, so it's definitely backing. Vive la salsa y el Santiago contigo, Dan.
and more. What news?
Another indoor venue. Icewood said the requirement will take effect January 3rd and comes as the rapidly spreading Omicron variant has led to a spike in infections. Many headed to the airport for the first time in a long time this holiday as we're dealing with the new and highly contagious.
Teams to provide additional hospital beds. The president was asked by reporters what
Omicron, le médecin hygiéniste en chef de l'entreprise.
on our most popular model. 43.
Higher risk because they're the ones who don't.
Place to protect your family and your loved ones and your community. Health Commissioner Moore said breakthrough cases do happen.
It's probably WLW out of Cincinnati. Got a lot of buzz in this. A lot of buzz in the radio on the lower end of the band. There's WSM. It's about 3 to 4 o'clock in the afternoon right now, so it's a little early for DX to be coming in, but it is definitely coming in.
Exchange next year.
Fox News warning that the NHL and the NHL players
All right, there you go. Working great on AM band. Pretty good on shortwave, so I'm happy with it. It seems to be working a lot better than it did when we first got into it. So that's the major thing, and most everything's replaced, and so it'll be good for a long time. So thank y'all for watching. Hope everybody has a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, and we'll see you guys later. Thanks.
CHU, Canada. Coordinated Universal Time. 22 hours, 14 minutes. Next is a special